Hello everyone, I'm Teresa O'Donnell-Ebner. I'm completing my first term on City Council and I'm asking to continue to serve you in this role. Being here tonight shows that you care about La Crescent and you want to be part of making our community a great place to live. I've lived in La Crescent for 38 years. I had a 40-year career as a paralegal. I worked for 2 private law firms and then enjoyed a 22-year career in the legal department at Gunderson Health System before retiring in May of 2021. My husband, Dave Ebner, and I are proud parents of 3 adult children and 3 wonderful grandchildren. My flyer gives you some of my experience and in being a La Crescent community leader. When I was elected, I knew I needed to learn a lot, and I've taken advantage of training sessions at the League of Minnesota Cities, and I have figured out that I need to learn a lot more. I have served 2 years on the Planning Commission, and most recently 2 years on Park and Rec. I've enjoyed 4 years on the library board, and I see our library as an important cornerstone for the community. I was part of the branding committee that helped to develop a new brand for La Crescent, growing from river to ridge, which gave us a fresh image for our city that still pays tribute to our bluffs and the river and the apple history. COVID was a huge challenge, and we're learning lessons from that still. The focus areas that I've been interested in are still the same: building stronger neighborhoods, collaboration between the city and the schools, ongoing sustainability efforts, and economic development for a vibrant downtown. All of these are areas that take collaboration, and I look forward to visiting with you tonight and see where we go from here. And Sarah, if I can just tell you, with the glare of the lights, I can't actually see what sign you're holding up. So I don't know if you wanted, and I don't know if Leo will have that difficulty or not, but it's really hard to see what the sign actually says.
Okay. Candidate Niche, do you want me to repeat the question?
Yes, and it's Mish.
Oh, here.
Yeah, the lights are right here. Okay, please introduce yourself by sharing what motivates you to run for city council and identify the most important skills that you bring to this office.
All right, so I am Leah Mish, and I have lived in the community for 10 years. I work as a nurse over at Gunderson, and I am excited to be involved more in the community. I've always been one to be proactive in the community, and I have family here, and I'm excited to announce I'll be an aunt, and so my sister-in-law is over there. She's pregnant. Hey! You've heard of that. But why I want to run for office is because I do have a family in the community. I have a lot of nieces and nephews in the community. I've always been strongly involved in the community. I was one of the Cherville University recipients of their Distinguished Alumni Award back in 2015 for my service to the community, so I've been involved in a lot of different activities and organizations like the Red Cross, gone on deployment across the United States, helping with people that have been in disasters, have done the dancing on the lacrosse stage, or the dancing with the lacrosse star, so this isn't my first time on the stage, although I'm hoping it won't be my last. So yeah, I've never run for city council before. I have always been pretty involved in the community and was helping to take care of my dad recently, and he passed away, and so I kind of got the letter that said that they were looking for city council members, and I thought this would be a nice opportunity to be involved in the community and do something positive and productive in the community, and something that can give my family, my nieces and nephews, a better life moving forward. And I just like being involved in the communities, whether it's with the YMCA, the YWCA, helping neighbors, and just being involved in the community has always been something important to me. And I see the sign, so I will end it there.
Okay, thank you. you will be first. What can be done at the city level to help attract and grow more local business? What can be done at the city level to help attract and grow more local business?
I would say making it easier for people to be part of the business community and getting words out. I do like the communication now in the city that helps get people involved, but I think that there could be growth in communication for people to bring their businesses to La Crescent. We do live next to La Crosse, but there is still a lot of opportunity for growth in the community. So getting that communication out and being a presence in the community and encouraging people to bring businesses to the community to help even in the future of the La Crescent community to bring growth for the long-term sustainability.
Thank you. Candidate O'Donnell, do you want me to repeat the question?
Sure.
What can be done at the city level to help attract and grow more local businesses?
One thing that La Crescent has is an economic development committee that meets periodically to kind of take a look at what services are provided in the community, what businesses there are, looking to see if there are others that can be invited. We have a little bit of difficulty with our space, just our physical space for new businesses. So that's always been a struggle. But I think the EDA group has always been looking for those opportunities. There's also work that can be done with the county, with the economic development representatives through the county level. The chamber too is a key source, a key partner for the city. I think that the chamber is looking for ways to support the businesses that are here, look for opportunities, especially as we look at what our downtown looks like and some opportunities that we have for redesigning the downtown and what will that look like? How will those businesses interact with both our residents and the people that come to visit? So I see the chamber playing a big role in that and the city contributing and supporting that effort whenever we can. Sometimes it's just a matter of communication and letting everyone know about opportunities that are out there, people that are interested, and really too, now that we have these businesses that many people are working out of their homes, and so to support that kind of business as well. It may not have a storefront, but there could be somebody that's providing computer services from their home or other kinds of entrepreneurial efforts. And so all of that is something that the city can help to support in partnership with the chamber and the overall community. I think too that we need to work with our residents to be sure that we're shopping local because that too will help sustain those businesses that we do have. So those are some of the things that I can think of.
Okay. Thank you. The next question, candidate O'Donnell, you will answer first. You've both just mentioned communication, and this question is that information has become a challenge to receive with the loss of a locally focused newspaper. So can you provide one or two specific suggestions for how to keep city residents informed about council activities beyond referring to the website?
So beyond the website, that really is one of the go-to places for some detail. We are at a loss without a local paper. We can use some social media to communicate what's happening, but obviously not everybody is on social media, so there's gaps there. It's a little bit difficult for an individual council member to try to sort out how to post information, because you have to be careful that you're not speaking on behalf of the city government or the whole council if you express points of view on social media. So those are all things that are a concern. I know some communities have used their high schools. I'm originally from Rushford, and I know that they have a program in Rushford where the high school kids do interviews of some of the city departments and some of the city council members, and they will do their own news reports of what's happening, and they do a really good job. And so there may be some opportunities to partner that way with having the high school do a mini journalism program to make reports of what's happening. I would like to see us get to a point where we could have some kind of local news. Right now, the Houston County news that we get really is so very limited with what's there. It's basically a reprinting of articles from Winona and from La Crosse. And so perhaps we need to do a better job of doing news releases and other details in the paper that does reach each home each week, and make use of it even though we don't have active reporters that are covering the news.
Candidate Mitch, would you like me to repeat?
Yes.
I'll just keep repeating. My only problem here is I may not ask it exactly the same, but I'll be close. So you had both mentioned communication as being important, and this is a challenge now without a locally focused newspaper. So please offer one or two specific suggestions about how to keep community members informed of council activities beyond just visiting the website.
All right, thank you for the question. I think there's many different opportunities to increase the communication of the city council and the stuff going on in the community. I think one thing that is just an easy platform to use is the social media platform. Obviously, not everybody does have social media, but it's a cheap and easy way in getting people information quickly versus newsletters. Not to say that newsletters aren't good, but you don't have to have the printing and have to have the delivery service for people to read. So social media is an easy route to get the word out. I do like the newsletter that they have and that they send out. I think that there is good information, and that's how I even learned about the city that the city council was looking for people to run. But also having a presence in the community, I think, is important as well. So being present at a lot of community events and letting people know that you're part of the city council so that they can approach you, learn about you, ask questions, bring concerns. So it's a more diversified group.
Okay, thank you. Okay, the next question, candidate Mitch, you'll receive first. In your role as serving on city council, what would be your approach to balancing the needs and wants of taxpayers while working within the city budgetary constraints? What would be your approach to balancing the needs and wants of taxpayers while working within the city budgetary constraints? And if you have a crystal ball, someone wants to know if property taxes are going up.
So what would be my approach? My approach would be to maybe do a survey out into the community to see what is important to the community members, but also look to some of the organizations that are already established in the community and get feedback from them. If I had a crystal ball, I wouldn't raise taxes, but I would be conscious of what it all entails. So I guess I'm going to retract that statement. I would get all my information before I could speak to that. I don't know what the budget's looking like right now. So I do understand there's gotta be a good flow for balances to work. So I really don't know, and the situation of everything right now, I do a lot to prevent that. But if it means better opportunities for our future, I think I would be in favor of helping to make better opportunities so that the community can continue to be a happy or a healthy, safe community for our future members.
Thank you. Candidate O'Donnell, what is your approach to balancing the needs, is this better, Beth?
Yes.
Balancing the needs and wants of taxpayers while working within the city budgetary constraints and our property taxes going up?
I don't have a crystal ball, but what I can tell you is that in my first term on the council, it was a learning curve to understand everything that goes into running the city. It's really quite amazing, everything that has to take place to help everything work the way that it needs to work. And as the budget is set, there's ongoing conversations. It is always a balance between trying to hold costs down, but yet trying to provide the services that we need. We're always looking at long-term planning so that there could be a 5-year street project plan where we map out the streets that need to be repaired. Clearly, we can't do them all at once, so we pick and choose and identify which ones need to be repaired the soonest. We look to state aid. One of the difficulties with the legislature just in this past year was that there was hope that there would be some increased funding to local governments, and the legislature wasn't able to reach an agreement on how to have those dollars allocated, and that could have been a big help to a lot of communities. So as we look at our budget, we're also looking as we balance those numbers and what we need with what new houses have come in. And so I don't have a crystal ball as to whether property taxes will go up, but the dollars that we need to run the city are also balanced. You're all sharing that responsibility across the board, and so when new houses come in, it helps to share that burden. And so I don't know, and we won't know for a little while, whether it will go up significantly. Certainly that your property values have fluctuated drastically in the market that we just saw, but there's many elements that go into that budgeting, and you can keep track on City Council. There's a number of additional meetings before we approve the next budget. So if you have specific questions about that, let me know and we can keep you posted.
Thank you. The next question first to candidate O'Donnell. What role does the city have to address affordable housing needs?
In a smaller community like ours, affordable housing is a challenge because, again, being as landlocked as we are, we don't have a lot of room to try to add developments where there could be some controlled values on the units that would be put in place. One thing that we are doing that we've been able to participate in a few years now is there's a program that allows us to have certain homeowners can qualify for improvements to their home. They get a loan. This is administered through SEMCAC, and they are able to get a loan for some basic improvements to their home, and then if they remain in their home for a certain number of years, that loan is forgiven. And so basically what it's doing is allowing people on limited incomes to be able to stay in their home, make improvements with insulation and other key elements to make that home more livable and sturdy. And then over those 7 years, I think it is, each year a certain amount of it is forgiven. And if it's sold before that time, then that loan is part far as affordable housing, it's difficult because I think here in La Crosse, or in La Crescent, there's always been a tight market for housing because we're so close to La Crosse. So it's something we can always continue to look at.
Candidate Nish, what role does the city have to address affordable housing needs?
I think that the city can share a role in promoting different resources. As a nurse, I help connect people to resources all the time. So there are a lot of resources out there that are already established that people just are really not aware of, so connecting them to resources. I do feel people also need to be self-sufficient as well in trying to figure out how they're going to get affordable housing and live within their means. I do think it is an issue with inflation that housing and everything is just become more expensive. So maybe not having the house that is what you had always dreamed of, but looking at what you have now to see what can you budget for and afford. So the city's role would be connecting them to resources and just promoting those resources that are available to help families in this hard time.
Thank you. The next question goes to candidate Nish first. How can the city best foster relationships with local entities within the community and perhaps identify what some of those entities might be? So how can the city best foster relationships with local entities within the community, and what might some of those entities be?
That is a good question. They could help in fostering relationships within the community by being a presence in the community and listening to the people. So there are sites already established, like the Crescent Together is a platform where people can bring questions or concerns, and you can be involved with your neighbors. So using some of the different platforms to listen to what people's concerns are, and help.
Are there any particular entities that you would see as most important for the city?
Like businesses?
Would be one, yeah, or any others that strike you?
So
This is pretty wide open.
yeah, it's very kind of like broad question. So start with the question again.
Yep. How can the city best foster relationships with local entities within the community, and what entities might be most important to do that? So you mentioned businesses, any others?
I think businesses would be an important thing to listen to the people, as well as the schools, and getting that entity brought into, as well as the older adults. That's a growing community just all around. So looking to different resources in the community to help get the word out. So what do people want addressed, and how do we address that? And letting all the voices be heard.
Thank you. Candidate O'Donnell, how can the city best foster relationships with local entities in the community, and what might some of those entities be?
There's a few different things that come to mind. In particular, our connections to the schools, both our public school and our Montessori and crucifixion schools. I thought that COVID kind of changed how we could stay in touch with each other, but now that we are adjusting with all of that, I'd like to see us actually have an opportunity where the schools and city groups would get together maybe on a quarterly basis and just compare notes as to what's going on. We work together on a lot of different projects. The Safe Routes to School program, some of the bike safety, bike pedestrian programs, those are school representatives to work on a bike-friendly community designation, and so we're working on that. I know Mindy Crowley, our new superintendent, has indicated that she's very willing to be a partner with the city on a lot of different things, and in fact, I was invited to be a community representative for some of the work that the school is doing on diversity, equity, and inclusion, and that I think is really helpful to have city representation there to hear what the school is working on and then figure out how that can roll out to a broader audience in the community. So all of those kinds of things are important. I mentioned the chamber. I think that partnership with the chamber on so many levels is really helpful, especially as we work on tourism and redevelopment of the Walnut Street area and a more vibrant downtown. So that's helpful. There's relationships with the township and with the county. And I appreciate that our county commissioner's been coming to our council meetings and giving us a brief update at the council meetings to keep us up to date as to what the council or what the county is working on. So those are all things that I think that we can do.
Thank you. And one last question before we go to closing remarks. This is an aspirational question. So first to candidate O'Donnell, explain the direction you hope to see the city moving in the near future.
Okay, well, and you see I have a few notes, so let me find my little page with my vision for what I see for La Crescent. It's interesting because 4 years ago, I thought about this question and what were some of the most important projects that La Crescent had in front of us. And I said, at that time, it was the hotel and the event center, the vote at that time for the elementary and middle school remodeling, and the city center, new city hall. So even with COVID, 2 of those 3 have happened over 4 years, and that's huge. There's so much that we can build on now that we have a beautiful remodeled middle school and high school, and our elementary school is gorgeous. There's just so many other things that we can do to help motivate our community to be more involved. So my 3 new projects that I see is that Walnut Street redevelopment that takes us from the hotel to the downtown, and then revisioning what that downtown looks like so that it's a place where our residents and our visitors want to linger. Are there some shops? Are there outdoor seating areas? Part of that would also be that we need a new city hall. The one that we have is not ADA accessible, it's cramped, we don't have the space, our library needs room. And so my big vision would be to have us get back to work on that city center that would include the city hall, the police department, the library, senior dining, and so many other things that could help to really create a sense of downtown for us. We don't really have that, and we need it. It will be a chance for us to make connections with our neighbors, and that's the big vision that I have, is to continue to work for that. It's going to take a long time, and it's going to take some planning, but everybody can be part of those conversations.
Thank you. Candidate Mish, explain the direction you hope to see the city moving in the near future.
I hope to see La Crescent moving in the direction of continuing to promote health in the community, to education, and bringing a downtown area that is inviting. I would like to see tourism grow. Somewhat, we have a beautiful river, the Mississippi River, and I feel like we could really utilize that in bringing people to our community and really showing off what we have to offer, because between the bluffs and the river, we really do have a lot. I'd like to see in the schools, I know students are behind with learning because of the whole COVID pandemic, so what can we do to increase the gap with all of the students and and helping bring them back up so that we can continue to be a strong community growing and moving forward together. I'd also like to see activities and groups within the community. I know our Park and Recs is a big area that does help promote that, but let's continue to grow that and get people involved and active in the community. I really like that they have the helping hands where they help each other out. I think that that's a really cool thing that we can continue to grow, and really that sets us apart from some of the other communities in the area. So yeah, I just have a lot of energy to give to the community to help in making it continue to grow, be stronger, and more just a better life for everybody. Would like to see some development too. I know we don't have a whole lot of area to grow because we got the bluffs and the river, but what can we do to still bring in tax dollars in here to help budget the costs of everything? So.
Thank you. Okay, now it's time for closing remarks. We just have allocated a minute for this, so think of anything that you would just like to say in closing, and candidate Bish, we'll start with you. So 1 minute.
I think I pretty much covered everything. I welcome anybody to come and talk to me and give me feedback on what they find is important to them for things to be addressed within the community. I'm not very scary, so feel free to always come out to me and then talk. And then I know I'm probably not the average person running for city council. This is my first time running for city council, but I feel like I do have a lot of heart and passion. I've had a lot of leadership skills in different organizations that I've been involved in. So I think I have a lot to offer for the city. And yeah, I think we'll see what happens.
Thank you. Candidate O'Donnell?
Thank you, everyone, for being here tonight. I believe strongly in the value of community conversations and civic engagement, and I'm glad you're here. I also want to thank the other candidates. Leah and I had a chance to visit a month ago, and I know a number of the people running for school board, and it takes a lot to step up and say that we want to help to lead the community. So I appreciate that effort that they've taken to step up. We've got a lot to be proud of in La Crescent. We have strong community volunteers. We've got dedicated city employees, and we're surrounded by beauty. So for me, I look at this and I think it's important that we understand that the success that we've had in La Crescent doesn't happen automatically. It takes a lot of planning and a lot of conversations and resources, and I think I can help as we move forward for the next 4 years. I work well in a team, I help build consensus, and I'll continue to work hard. I think it involves listening. You have to be a good listener. You have to learn and do your homework, and then you have to be willing to share the information that you have. And I'm interested in continuing to do that, and I ask for your vote on November 8th or before.
All right, I want to thank both of you for, one, your willingness to participate in this forum, and especially your willingness to serve the community through your membership on the council. And I think we can all express our appreciation for that. I'd like to invite the candidates for county commissioner up on the stage next. question is there time if candidates want to remain out in the lobby afterwards?
Absolutely.
No place better to be.
Okay, these are our candidates for county commissioner. This race is for District 4 in Houston County, and I don't know about the rest of you, but I always get confused about which district I am, and there's a handy little map you can find online. But basically, you are probably voting for one of these two people if you live in La Crescent, but not the city, sort of the original city proper, Hokah or Brownsville. Is that a good way to describe the District 4? That's roughly it. It's a little confusing because if you look at the map, you see there's a little pink spot right over the city, and that is District 1, I think. Yeah. So this is a 4-year term. We have 2 candidates. There is 1 open seat. That is the seat that's being vacated by Teresa Walters. So you will vote for one of these 2 people. The candidates are Bob Schultz and John Vauxhall. And to start, I'd like to ask you to introduce yourself by sharing what motivates you to run for county commissioner and identify the most important skills that you bring to the office. We'll start with candidate Schultz.
Hello, everybody. I'm Bob Schultz. I'm a lifetime resident of Houston County. I've lived here all my life, and I've worked in public service pretty much my whole life as well. Graduated from La Crescent and went into law enforcement. I've been in law enforcement for 34 years. I also got involved with Crescent Township, and I've been on the township board for the last 7 years, and I'm currently the township chairman. When you describe the area of La Crescent for our district, basically everything that La Crescent has annexed from the township is part of District 4, from the original area there. Working for the public, you learn a lot. It brings a lot of attention to areas that you're not quite aware of. When I worked with the sheriff's office, I learned a lot of different areas of what county commissioners did. A lot of areas that people don't realize what Teresa did. Like Teresa brought out, brought out from the city, she did come to all the meetings. That's why she came to our township meetings. Every year, she was at our annual meeting where we set our budgets. She would give us input, etc., on what was going on in the county, how we were going to work as a township, how we were going to be able to fund different things. That's when I found out that Teresa was not going to run. And I knew that I had the experience. I was asked if I would run, and that's the reason why I'm running, because we need someone in there to pick up the pace and continue with a good way of taking care of our residents. Teresa did a really good job, and she's got shoes that are going to be tough to fill, but one way or the other, John or I are going to do it.
Thank you. Candidate Vauxhall, please introduce yourself by sharing what motivates you to run for county commissioner and identify the most important skills that you bring to the office.
Good evening, everyone. John Vauxhall. I too am a lifelong resident of La Crescent. I've been happily retired for 7 years already, but when I found out just a few days before the filing deadline that Teresa wasn't going to be running again for another term, having served 12 years already, and like Bob said, she's been doing a fantastic job in this seat. I did a quick overnight reassessment and decided, maybe your life isn't as balanced as you think it is. What are you doing to give back to the community? I'm 72 years old, but I feel more like I'm 62. I've got the blessing of being healthy and have a lot of energy, and would like to do something to give back at this point in my life. Once you've got children, grandchildren, in my case even now great-grandchild, your perspective starts to look towards what are you leaving, what condition are you leaving your community in for those that are as skills that I've got, this is my first time running for any type of elected office. I have had a lot of leadership experience. My career has mostly been in sales, and I've been a sales manager. I've been a president and general manager of a manufacturing operation. I've been a president of a large church and school congregation for 12 years. I'm the oldest of 10, so I enjoy being in charge, but having grown up in a house with 10 kids and one bathroom, I've also learned how to get along with people and realize that other people need to be heard as well.
Thank you. All right, your first question, and this will go to candidate Foxall. What can be done at the county level to help attract and grow businesses in Houston County? What can be done at the county level to help attract and grow businesses in Houston County?
I feel the cities are probably taking more of a lead in that regard than the counties at this point. The county is at this point. There is, economic development work that is taking place. Part of attracting new businesses to the community has a lot to do with our land use policies, and that hasn't been updated now since 1998. The county has hired a consultant firm to address that issue after trying to do it in-house a few years ago without a lot of success. Bob and I were both on a bus tour around the county and visited all the cities and saw what each of them had to offer and what they're lacking. So I think there's definitely opportunities, but we are geographically limited in most of the towns for further development area within the city limits because of our geographically being hemmed in by the bluffs and the rivers in most of the towns in the county.
Okay, thank you. Candidate Schultz, what can be done at the county level to help attract and grow businesses in Houston County?
Houston County is a little bit unique. We have a very big rural area. We have a lot of farm area, but we do have growing cities. La Crescent, when I started as a police officer, was in the city of La Crescent. We only had 4 officers. Now there's 7 or 8 full-time, along with a half dozen part-time. They've grown, they've developed, they've worked with their economic development. Houston County houses the economic development. It's one of the areas that we have a full-time person that works in there. Having the county commissioners in the county work with their local cities, work with their townships, when they look at the plan that they're redoing, yes, it hasn't been updated for quite a while. It's good that they are updating it, and then areas that they can look at where we can develop, what we can work with, and yet preserve natural resources, preserve farmland, if that's what. If you haven't done the survey, they extended it. They want the public input on what direction we need to go, and that will help guide the commissioners on what way they decide to finalize this plan. So the big answer to that question is working with the people, whether it's the cities or the locals.
Thank you. The next question will go to candidate Schultz first. How do you plan to involve residents in the decision-making processes of the county and help keep them informed of what city government is doing? So this ties back to that newspaper question.
It's a good question. I myself am a little disappointed with the Houston County News. The Galvin Yards has done a lot, the other ones, but we need to step that up. And how you step that up is exactly what the current commissioner does. Teresa goes to every one of our cities. She goes to every one of our townships. And she attends our annual meeting where we set our budgets, where we, decide what we're going to do with your taxpayer money. And you need to be involved. You have to go to those meetings. You have to talk to the people. And you have to listen to those people. And that's how you get the word out to them, is by being available to them. social media, yeah, it's out there, they utilize it a lot, but again, social media changes, the platform changes. John and I had a conversation when we first got here and how we found out about this forum. It was posted, I never seen it, it was forwarded to me by somebody. And again, what that boils down to is communication. I talk to John, he talked to me, people talk to each other. We really gotta get back to the basis of communication.
Thank you. Candidate Foxall, how do you plan to involve residents in the decision-making process in our county and help inform residents of the functions of the county government?
Yeah, unlike some candidates that have run for this position in the past that have had a particular agenda or an axe to grind, I don't think Bob does either. But it is one of my pet peeves that the communication, especially about what's happening in the county government, is not getting out to the residents, particularly at the north end of the district here in the Crescent area. The way the regulations are written, paper of record has to have a physical office presence in the county. So La Crosse Tribune isn't even eligible to bid on that. The Argus and the Spring and Caledonia and the Spring Grove paper both bid on that contract. And the Argus is the paper of record. Fillmore County News is also doing quite a bit, and I think probably all of you got a free supplement this week with answers to candidate questions that Bob and I both answered. So there's some communication happening, not what we'd like to see. I've heard it from other people that I've talked to while campaigning as well. A lot of people aren't aware that the county does have a web page. Just Google Houston County MN, and that'll take you to the web page. You can watch recorded meetings of the commissioner meetings, or three business meetings and one planning meeting a month, business meetings where votes are taken. Those don't show up for about 3 weeks, but you can listen live, which I did yesterday at this week's meeting. The planning meeting, you can only hear that, you can't see it, and you have to do it in real time. So that's something that needs to be updated. And I know that in talking to Commissioner Walter, she said it costs us a lot of money to get what we do in publication in the Argus, and right now there isn't a lot of interest maybe in getting more disseminated, but that's something I definitely want to take a look at.
Thank you. The next question will go to candidate Foxall first. You both brought up the revision of the land use policy. What are some of the elements in that land use policy that you think are particularly important for residents to respond to?
Well, one of the major issues that always seems to come up is in protecting our rural and agricultural areas. Right now, the policy is you can have one house per quarter section or one house per 40 acres. My own opinion on that is one size doesn't fit all. In a lot of cases, that makes real good sense, and it eliminates a lot of work on the part of the zoning. But in reality, I think a lot of people are coming forth and pleading their case, and this is why I should get a variance. So it remains to be seen how that's all going to shake out, but in the end, I think it is important that we preserve the agricultural lands. I think it's important that people be able to do what they'd like to do with their property to meet their own needs, as long as it doesn't negatively impact their neighbors or the environment. So personally, that's how I would like to see it go forward. It's going to be modified to some extent. If any of you have ever looked at it, it is comprehensive. It's about a 300-page document. So we've got a good land use policy in place, but it's time for some tweaking at least.
Okay, thank you. Candidate Schultz, you both referenced the revision of the land use policy. What elements in that land use policy do you think is particularly important for residents to respond to?
It is very important. If you, like John said, if you haven't read it, take a chance to skim it. Probably one of the biggest areas that would affect us in Houston County, and being in the town board, I worked with the zoning before we turned it over to the township, to the county, and I am right now the current township representative. When you apply for a permit, it goes across, I get a copy of it, and I bring it to our board for us to do. And what we see a lot of is exactly what John's saying, is variances. Someone's gonna build on a farm, the city annexes out into the township, and now they're too close to a feedlot. So then they're gonna need a variance or a conditional use permit for that. And all of that stuff is in the survey that asks what people wanna look at, what needs to be changed, what can be updated, what the vision is for our county down the road. When we pass this plan, John or I and the rest of the commissioners, that's questions that we need answered. And the people that answer that are the public. That needs to be answered in that survey. It's very important. Myself, I think that the zoning end of it is probably the most important end of it. A lot of the talk about hillside structures, etc., that's all kind of got DNR rules that we're not going to change at a local level. It will have to fall into play with the statutes and the rules that are set by the state. But there is areas that we can look at, that we can change as individuals in our own county for what desires and needs we see with our vision of where we want to see our county go. That's the most important area. This input from our locals. What do you want to see happen to your land in your county?
Thank you. Next to candidate Schultz, what do you see, can you identify what you see as the two most important challenges facing Houston County during your term?
There's a lot of good challenges. The top two is going to be number one, economics. Where we go, where taxes are going. If we stay a rural area, you know, the farmland property assessments are going up. So it's actually causing farmers not to be able to farm their land because they can't afford to. So then they sell it. Well, then it turns into whether it's going to be developed or not. We need to look at, you know, where we're at taxes wise, which falls into the needs and wants. That was brought up to the city council questions there. As a commissioner, you need to know what a need and a want is. There's a big difference between a need and a want. We need to have good roads. We need to have a good courthouse. We need to have a good highway department. We need human services. We need public health. Them are all needs. There's also wants. You know, we want to have good parks. We want to have wildcat landing. We want to have different things like that. But again, it falls down to the economics. Can we afford it? Can we make it work? Is there grants that are available? And again, you need to work with your different communities in order to figure out what needs and wants that they have that we can provide at the county level. The cities rely, especially our smaller cities, we rely heavily on Houston County commissioners. We rely heavily on the, you know, the sheriff's office for what they do to back up our police department, the highway department for providing sand and et cetera, things to help out our townships. We need to work together, and that's one of the things that I noticed by working for Houston County and for local cities. I was with the sheriff's office for 11 years. I was an night sergeant there. We need to work with the different cities. At the township level, we work with the highway department. We have to work together in order to control the spendings.
Thank you. Candidate Hoxel, what are the two most important challenges facing Houston County during what will be your term?
I could probably come up with half a dozen. I've spent quite a few hours going back and reviewing, watching videos of the county board meetings, going back probably over the last 4 years, just to see what all is coming across the bow that the commissioners are dealing with. And probably the most important area is taking input from all of the department heads in the county. And at this point, I think we've got excellent people in those spots. Retaining quality employees. First, you've got to required quality, no matter, and running county government is no different than running any other business. You have to attract qualified people that are dedicated to what they're doing, and then you have to keep them in that position. And keeping people in those jobs has been a challenge. It's not always paid, and until you're really close to it, I asked one of the commissioners some questions related to personnel, and he gave me as much information as he could without, getting into areas that aren't my business yet. But I know acquisition and retention of county personnel is critical. And then again, in dealing with those departments, human nature being what it is, when people present their budgetary needs for the next year, they're gonna say, well, if they need $1, they're gonna ask for $1.20 and hope they get $1.10, and really maybe they only need $1. So, the commissioner's job is important because they have to be able to determine whether that budgetary need is accurate, because that affects what all of you out there and everybody in the county is going to be paying on their tax bill in the coming years. Aside from that, I guess space utilization is an important consideration right now, the county-owned buildings and how those are being used. We've got a historic jail right now that it needs to serve some purpose. It isn't right now, and figuring out how to best utilize that building and whether the county wants to invest millions of dollars into that building or let somebody else put it to use. That's on the horizon right now too, is something that needs to be decided.
We'll need to stop there. Thank you. This last question before your closing statement is aspirational, just like the city got one. Your question is, candidate Foxall, if you received $1 million grant to use in the county any way you wanted, what would you do with it and why?
I think if we look at all the different departments within the county, highway department, law enforcement, I would probably look at health and human services as one where I would spend a large share of that money. I've identified that in answering my questions, if you saw the journal, is I think everybody realizes that probably a bigger percentage of our population today than pre-COVID is challenged for a number of reasons. We've got issues with drug and alcohol, substance abuse, with emotional needs that aren't being met for a lot of people, with elderly that are trying to stay in their own home as long as possible. And as recently as yesterday's board meeting, that was recognized, that area of concern, by the Health and Human Services Director, as well as one of the retired educators and administrators from here at the Crescent Elementary School. The fact that we know that there are people in the community that have needs that aren't being met, and identifying those people and then matching them up with the services. We have the services there, but sometimes they aren't always being matched up with those that need those services.
Thank you. Candidate Schultz, if you received $1 million grant, the county received $1 million grant to use in the county any way you wanted, what would you do with it and why?
I'd have to agree with what John said there. Human services is one of the very important areas we have at the county level, and it's probably one of the more underappreciated. They deal with all the mental health it takes. They deal with all the foster homes. They are 24/7, just like the police are. We have to call in the middle of the night when we have a domestic situation, when we have to remove a child from the home, and they are in dire need of different monies that they do not have funding for. And a lot of that is at the state level. We had proper funding through the state. We had other avenues that we could utilize. A lot of that got cut.
closing remarks. So just a reminder, this is 1 minute to summarize anything you would like to say to voters at this point, or something you might have forgotten to say that you'd like to communicate now. And we'll start with candidate Schultz.
Thank you. Again, just thank everyone for being here. It's good to see faces. It's nice to see involvement. It's an important position that the county commissioner has up there. When Teresa said that she wasn't going to run, I told her why. You need to run. You do a great job. And you need someone in there that's going to have the experience, the knowledge in order to step in there. And that's the only reason why I said that I would run. Because I've worked in the different areas that the commissioner oversees. I've worked in budgeting. I've been the emergency manager in Hokah along with the police chief for 19 years. I've worked my way up through the township to being as the chairman of the board. I've worked with just about every department that the county commissioners oversee. I've had my fingers in one capacity or another, and that's the only reason that I'm running. I'm not a politician. I'm not going to go out there and make promises that I'm going to save the world. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. That's not me. And I'm not going to be that person. I'm the guy that's going to go out there and I'm going to talk to you. You can call me, and we'll get stuff figured out, and we're going to get the job done one way or the other. And you got to listen to people.
Thank you.
Why I'm here.
Thank you. Candidate Buxel, 1 minute.
Well, I guess neither of us are politicians, but we're both after an elected position here. My background hasn't been involved in government, as I mentioned earlier, but I do have a lot of experience managing, budgeting, dealing with committees. Again, county government is a lot like running any other business. You've got to deal with contractors, for example. I've dealt with hundreds and hundreds of businesses, all the way from single proprietor to Fortune 500 companies. And the county just dealt with Lisa Brothers building a new county shop. I've dealt with them on at least 4 different projects. One when I was president of the Scroll Sign, they built a 20,000 square foot manufacturing facility for us out at the industrial park, and I helped them in 3 big projects at our school, remodeling the church and school. So I've got a lot of background in dealing with the kind of issues that are coming before commissioners every week.
Thank you very much. And again, I'd like to thank both of you for your willingness to participate in this forum so that people can meet you and hear your points of view, and your willingness to serve as a county commissioner. We can show our appreciation. So I would say stand up and stretch, and we're going to get the school board candidates up here now.
Read them out loud.
Read them out loud.
The names. some research if we need.
Right, these aren't slick politicians. These are rambling. When I walked in, they had a card. A question. Well, maybe she didn't write it. I have some. So it's,
Position is, if she is in a position, they might turn over.
she might be pulled out. She's like such a disadvantage. She doesn't think you can. This is brutal. I'm just sitting here.
Pass on this one.
Yeah, I don't know what the point is.
Pass on this
There was
next
one
one.
answer. I wouldn't have said anything either. I was like,
Okay, I think we're just about ready to get started again, if everyone's sufficiently stretched. All right, so our last group is our candidates for the Crescent-Hokah School Board. There are 7 candidates for 3 open seats, but if you have looked at your sample ballot, remember the SOS, that thing that you can look up, you'll notice that there is an 8th candidate listed. That candidate is Sarah Byam. Her name is on the ballot. However, after her name was placed on the ballot, she's no longer eligible to run for the position because of now working for the school district. And Sarah is out there someplace, right there. And she really wants you to know that this is what happens, happened, so that you don't vote for her and make your vote count someplace else. So again, on your ballot, there is Sarah Byam, I hope I'm saying your name right, and however, she is no longer eligible to serve in this position. Okay, now comes the other complicated stuff. So there are 7 candidates, and you will count them 4 up here. We've had a couple things, a couple of people unable to make it tonight, and that is, why am I counting wrong? Christine Mental-Wegner and Ray Welker.
Oh, and Chris Humble is held up at work currently. He's going to still jump up here if he's able to get out on time and will hopefully join us. Christine Mindell-Wagner was unable to be here at the last moment as well. Wade Welper is actually out of town and did submit a statement that I will read just like I read for candidate Justin before for the city. Wade Welper has served on the Crescent-Hokah School Board for nearly 11 years. As a part of that role, he also serves on the Hiawatha Valley Education District Board for the same amount of time. He currently is a regional director for Ram River Bluffs, supporting people with disabilities in group homes. Previously, he worked at Cholita for 19 years, supporting children with unique abilities. He and his wife reside in La Crescent, and they have 2 children that have gone through this district. He would be proud to support all students and their families for another 4 years.
All right, so we're going to use the same format that we've used for the previous candidates. I will say we have the most questions submitted here for the school board, and probably will not be able to get to all of them because we have ones previously submitted as well, but we will give a good shot at getting many of them covered. So I'd like to start by asking each of you to introduce yourself by sharing what motivates you to run for school board And what do you feel are the most important skills that you bring to the office? So we'll start with candidate Miller.
Hi, my name's Nikki Miller. I've been a longtime resident of the school district ISD 300 since 2001 and lived in Hokah. And my kids, I have 3 children currently in the school district, and one's a senior. I've got a high schooler and an elementary child that goes to Crescent-Hokah. My motivation for wanting to help better our system and community, I guess, with the school district and wanting to run for the school district, or for the school board, pardon me, has been really, there's been quite a paradigm shift, as we all know, mentally, emotionally, and within our community, very polarized emotions over COVID, and really wanting to just bring that back to reality and back to the ground of what the common ground is for all of us, and that's to keep our community, our schools, our faculty, and keep everybody safe and healthy, and really nurture and foster a growing environment for learning and building strong leaders that are going to want to live in this community for a long time.
Okay, thank you. Candidate Martell, please introduce yourself by sharing what motivates you to run for the school board and identify the most important skills that you bring to the office.
Hi, as she said, I'm Danielle Martell. I'm a proud graduate of La Crescent School District, as well as living here my entire life. I have 2 children in the district. I have a high schooler and an elementary student. So being part of both schools is exciting. Opportunities at both levels to be part of the community and involved in the community in both schools. And then I also have about 15 years in corporate America and leadership. I feel that those will be useful in this position. I currently hold the position as an interim for Patty Belichick on the board, and hope to be able to do that for another 4 years. I did take a step back from the corporate America environment because it was taking a lot of my time away from my children. They're active in sports. They're both 3-sport athletes. And I also work in a school district where I see a lot of room for growth in our district. Looking at it from the inside out, it's kind of exciting to have that opportunity to bring some of those exciting ideas into La Crescent and continue to grow on what we're doing right now with new leadership in the school. I'm currently involved in the youth football board for La Crescent-Hokah area. We created that back in April and have brought it a long way since then. I'm the secretary of marketing, or I hold the position for secretary of marketing on that board. And then I'm looking forward to continuing my involvement in the district.
Thank you. Candidate Cody, what motivates you to run for the school board? And please identify the most important skills you bring to the office.
Hi, I'm Darcy Cody. I graduated from this high school in 2000. I moved to La Crosse for a short period of time and moved back here to raise my children. We lived in La Crescent for 10 years and recently found a house that we love in Hokah. What motivates me is my children. They're my passion. I'm a business owner in town. I have ran an in-home daycare for 15 years, and children and early education is my passion. So it motivates me to be involved. I have served the community and our school for many years in many ways, volunteering as a member of the PTO. I'm currently a member of the 300 Foundation and a lot of fundraising to support our school over the years. Important skills I have, I'm not a great public speaker, but I think I do have great communication skills, and that is one thing that needs to be built up in the school. We have a lot of new leadership in this year, and I'm say what you mean and mean what you say. And I hope that I can build the community's trust and that they are willing and to come to me for all of their needs and open communications. I'm consistent. I think consistency is very important when raising children to young adults and successful human beings. And that's another thing that needs to be brought into the school, just consistency and communication. I'm willing to put in the work, I'm willing to put in the time, I'm willing to learn more about how things run, and I'm eager to be a part of the board.
Thank you. And candidate Martin, what motivates you to run for the school board and identify the most important skills you bring to the office?
Well, hi, I'm Bonnie Martin, and I am running for school board because I believe that education really is the foundation of a thriving community. I'm motivated to run for school board because I think that quality schools really benefit all of us. My husband and I moved to the Crescent in 2012, and really I've been an advocate for education in the community ever since. At the time, our oldest child was starting kindergarten, and we wanted to establish ourselves in a community where our kids would graduate eventually from school. Currently, we have 3 children, and we have one at the elementary level, one at the middle school, and one at the high school. And over the last 10 years, I've really demonstrated my commitment to the schools and my work ethic as a member of the PTO, a really active member and a leader. So I spent 4 years as the president and have held a board position 6 of those other years. So I think my unique experiences as a substitute within the district, a volunteer, and a parent offer really a unique perspective. I could say that I can see the strengths in our district, which are many, but also the challenges. And I think within this district, having connections to past and present staff and families and community members will go a long way in terms of being able to be open and honest with communication and hopefully very approachable to be able to bring concerns of the community to the school board. In terms of strengths, I think my professional background as a communication professional and working in the nonprofit world will help me to be able to collaborate really with a wide variety of individuals and community members. The skills that I've developed as a servant leader can help me approach difficult decisions productively, positively, and directly. So my vision for our district is to have a well-rounded, inclusive, diverse education for all students in a safe, welcoming, and encouraging environment. So thank you for being here to let us all share with you tonight.
Thank you. The first question is, I'm going to kind of combine some questions, and the first question will go to candidate Martell, and then we'll rotate around that way. What do you see as the primary responsibility of a school board member, and what would be your priorities? Or another way of phrasing the priorities could be, what do you see as a major issue facing our school? So presumably, yep. What do you see as the primary responsibility of a school board member? And as a school board member, what would be your priority, or what do you feel is the major issues facing the school?
I feel the primary.
No, that was me. That was me trying to cross off questions.
I don't know if I was very lecture today or something.
No.
Primary responsibilities of a school board member. As I've gone to 2 meetings now, so I have a little bit more knowledge on what we're actually doing. Honestly, before I stepped in, I had been to several meetings, but had never been on the other side and know what all goes into actually running a board. There's more meetings that you go to every week to oversee the school, and that's really your responsibility.
I'm sorry, and then making the community feel safe and a sense of belonging.
Thank you. Candidate Cody, what do you see as the primary responsibilities of a school board member? And what will be your priorities, or what major issues do you see the school facing?
As Danielle said, the primary responsibility of the school board is to oversee the school, but without micromanaging, having faith in the staff to do their jobs in their place. Some of the things that I have noticed, along with accountability, there haven't been superintendent or board evals done in quite some time that I'm aware of. And those are important for accountability and growth so that we can give feedback. Keeping our strategic policies up to date, which also haven't been up to date. So that's a good way to measure growth, create goals, and keep moving forward. Another one of my priorities are retaining staff, retaining good staff, and making them feel supported and making them feel heard, and retaining families. We lose a lot of families in this district, so making our school safe and welcoming and comfortable so that we learn to stay.
Thank you. Candidate Martin, what do you see as the primary responsibilities of a school board member, and what will be your priorities for the major issues facing the school?
So I think that the primary role of the school board is to really empower the educators to do the best that they can by ensuring that the school, is really well run through policy setting and goal setting and engaging the stakeholders in our community, directing the vision for our school district through planning. I think our district is currently operating without a strategic plan. So I'm really excited to have the opportunity to help develop that vision. What is the vision for our district? What are our goals going into the future? I think advocating for community concerns and just public education as a whole throughout in the community and for our kids. But most importantly, I think that having a commitment to always doing what's best for the students is a primary role for a school board member. Being well educated on issues, staying current on topics and what's happening in the schools. I think that those are all very important. And as far as, what's the second part of the question?
Yep. What would be your priorities, or what do you see as major issues facing the school?
So I think currently we have an issue of being understaffed. We don't have enough paraprofessionals to offer the supports that our highest need students need, which really affects all of our students. So I think advocating for filling those positions and finding ways to make sure that once we do fill positions with excellent teachers and excellent paraprofessionals, that they stay in our district. I think also just in the last 10 years, we have had to make some cuts. When we first joined this district, a lot of these cuts were happening when my family first moved here. And I think that we are entering a period of time where we're really poised to do some great things. And so looking back at what are we missing? What could we add back in so that our kids really are getting the best education in the region?
Thank you. And Candidate Miller, what do you see as the primary responsibilities of a school board member, and what will be your priorities, or what major issues do you see the school facing?
Thank you. The priority role and primary role of the school board is really to help oversee and keep our administration honest, but also to help foster the bridge and the gap between community and student and faculty. And also bringing in, without implicit bias, or factoring in implicit bias of what that home life may be like for that student, for that faculty member. Staff retention's a big deal. I think everybody's feeling the pain with this pandemic and with the inflation and things like that going on right now. As far as school and student numbers this year, we haven't seen a huge deficit in that, which has been wonderful. I think we we have, just in the few months I've been able to be seated on the school board, we've made some pretty big strides positively toward updating policies and revamping and helping preliminarily look at strategic planning, which we plan on overseeing and helping facilitate starting at the beginning of the year, so sometime in January. We have an amazing administration right now. Our superintendent is amazing. I am super impressed with the paradigm shift we've already seen just in the last couple of months, and I'm looking forward to keep working with that. I've been a part of some of the committees. You know, as a board, we break out into committees to help oversee certain aspects. If we have a better gift to give at a certain committee level, we're able to help bring our skill set there, and that has been helpful. Me as a registered nurse, I've been a registered nurse for 12 years. Prior to that, I spent 10 years in the corporate world as well. And so having that ability to foster those communication skills and those resources to bring in to help with our mental health and emotional needs for our students and faculty is really a priority for me. And keeping our students in a learning environment that's safe and healthy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the next question will go first to candidate Cody, working down the line. You've heard this one before, but it's coming in from all directions. How can the school district better get school news and news about activities to members of the community without the newspaper, especially those without school-age children? And don't just say it's on our website.
That is a really great question, and it was brought up in the 300 Foundation and in the meeting I was at the other night. Somebody has already in the works of planning a better way to do that, which was the Community Ed Catalog, which goes out to every home. My other suggestion is just mailers, mail postcards, mail letters. I know that the 300 Foundation is purchasing postcards that can be sent home, and maybe those can be brought to the community as well. I know our superintendent is working with the Chamber of Commerce. She wants to get more of the public officials into the school, the mayor, and just general community members. And being there to answer questions and us being at other events is going to help bridge that communication.
Okay, thank you. Candidate Martin, how can the school district better get school news and news about activities to members of the community, especially those without children in the schools, without a newspaper, and not just on the website?
Well, this is my field. This is what I do. I love the opportunity to write a newsletter. I wrote one today. And I feel like this has been a huge challenge for our district for years. And even as a parent, with kids in 3 levels at the school, oftentimes things pop up and you don't even know that they're happening. So I think overall, communication is an area of where we can improve. And as Darcy mentioned, we were having this conversation at a meeting last night. I've thought for a long time that our Community Ed Catalog would be an excellent resource to have a school update, a couple of pages. Every household in the district gets the Community Ed Catalog multiple times a year. It wouldn't be as good as a monthly newsletter, but it would be a great step in the right direction to just help our community, our region as a whole, understand what some of the highlights are, things that are happening in the schools.
Thank you. We'll go right to candidate Miller. How can the school district better get news and news about activities to members of the community, especially those without school-age children?
Yes, I think, communication's been kind of a common theme. We all know that sending a 14-year-old home with instructions for their parents doesn't usually always go very well. So
Martell. How can the school district better get school news and news about activities out to members of the community?
I think that the District 300 Foundation did a great thing by adding this reader board outside of here. We also have that Lions reader board over by KT that is very helpful. I've heard a lot of people, back when I won an award through the school, it was on there, and some people in the community were coming up and telling me congratulations, and I had no idea where they had heard that from. So they had said it was on the reader board, so I know people are reading that. So those reader boards are super helpful, especially those driving by that may not be part of the school district, and getting the communication through the district. I'm a huge fan of flyers, like at the grocery store, walking in and out. I love seeing flyers on the wall. I love the kids that are trying to sell their lawnmower business to people with the little tabs. Those are my favorite things. So getting more of those to places where people might not see it otherwise, like senior dining, Quillen's, Quick Trip, local businesses, that the non-social media users may frequent more often than others. I also was very impressed at the football game last week how they read announcements of the other sports, not just football. I really enjoyed having that come over the loudspeaker. My kids are in football, so a lot of times I focus in on that, where hearing scores of other sports and activities and anything else that was coming up that week was really nice to hear too. So finding ways to communicate at events where there's large gatherings.
Thank you. The next question will go first to candidate Martin. This is two parts. How can we better support the mental health for staff in the district and for students, particularly in light of bullying?
I think this is an issue that everyone is facing, not unique to our school district or even schools in general, but certainly something that needs to be addressed. As I mentioned earlier, our district is short-staffed right now. Our educators are stretched thin, and our kids are feeling the effects of that as well. I think looking into having as much support as we can, both for teachers and students, making sure that our teachers feel comfortable using their time to take a break, and making sure that our policies aren't asking so much of our teachers and our staff that they don't have time for planning and for self-care. So I think these are some of the policy things that our school district, school board is really empowered to be able to make a positive effect on how things can become better from kind of the top down, which will help our students as well as our teachers.
Thank you. Candidate Miller. How can we better support the mental health of our staff as well as our students, particularly in light of bullying?
Thank you. I feel our resources within our community, county, and even state levels do offer additional supports, and it's sometimes a matter of making sure we're using those resources correctly and efficiently. As we know, as we heard in the last forum for county commissioner, we have a short staff issue at all levels of public health. And I think beefing up the resources to be able to have those, whether it be outsourcing, whether it be going to our state, Minnesota Department of Education, Minnesota Department of Health to get better resources locally until we're able to get better staffing. Those are things we can look at and have been looking at. We also have a great community of people that are offering local support. We have a great small business that offers making meals for families, and we're able to order those weekly. And whatever kind of students or otherwise, we need to be able to help foster that and bridge that gap. Is it tutoring for kids? That could be a pain point in the home. Is it meals? Is it clothes? Is it technology? We have done a great job with helping offer technology support and Wi-Fi support in homes so that people have that ability to use their resources that way. I also think making sure we're finding that respite time and people are using their PTO and not getting burnt out and listening, communicating with each other, communicating with our colleagues, and making sure that our board is listening and making sure that there are policies in place to allow them the time they need for EAP or whatever other PTO time they may need.
Thank you. Candidate Martell? Sorry, I flipped on my computer. This isn't something new. Mental health has been a problem forever. It's just been exacerbated by all of us being home for 2 years. And now it's bringing to light that we need more help. We need to find new ways, creative ways to help not only staff, but students as well. Personally, I actually tried to help last year with this a little bit. I created what I called was a snack train. I offered a link to people in the community, kids at both levels, their families, to make a snack and bring it for the teachers and to put in the staff lounge, just for something to smile that day. Maybe having a bad day. I asked them to put in cards and notes from kids saying, "We appreciate you," things like that, and then had them bring those in. I personally brought snacks several times to both schools, and they really enjoyed that. So finding ways to support the staff so they're better able to support the students, making sure the teachers have the tools and resources to be able to listen and know when to take something to the next level or who they need to talk to next, is something that I think we need to look at. In addition, finding a way to send out maybe a monthly or bi-monthly survey to the staff to gauge what their temperature is at that point. Do we need extra hands in this area? Is the high school experiencing higher burnout? And then, using our resources, putting them where they're needed most at that point in time. Thank you. And candidate Cody?
Everybody had really, really great ideas up here. I do think to help support the staff, they need to feel supported, they need to feel heard. When they're asking admin for extra help in their classroom, we need to do what we can to give it. We need to listen to their concerns and validate them. It helps people with mental health so much to feel heard and cared about and validated, and the children too. And resources are hard to come by, and they're expensive, and they're time-consuming, but getting people together, we have a really strong community, and we can get people together and involved in fun things, and just gets people talking and gives them something to look forward to. So we can send information home to families. As far as the bullying, we need strong policies. We need strong policies to reduce bullying as much as we can. We need teachers to feel supported, that parents feel this way, admin feels this way, and we need to hold the children accountable for their actions, and then be there for those other children who are on the wrong end of it. So I also think we could reach out to volunteers more when we start to see the burnout from our staff. I often hear that parents want to be involved, they want to be in the school, they want to help, and they want to volunteer. So with those surveys, if a certain teacher is starting to feel burnout, send it out to the parents. Hey, can you come in for an extra 30 minutes and help facilitate this group project or whatever it is they're working on? The more we can work together as a community, strong families, strong schools.
Thank you. The next question will go to candidate Miller first. So but it's come up as a question. So besides what you've already said about supporting teachers, can you name one or two specific ways which or things you could change to help retain current teachers? So besides what you've just said about mental
Yes.
health support.
Staff retention, really, I think everybody's feeling a little bit of burnout in every industry at this time, and a lot of it is due to cost of living inflation and increases with cost of living. I do believe that staff retention isn't always about how much they're making or how much they're bringing home, but it is about empowering them to give them the resources of what that could look like, what additional things might they need for certifications. Do we need to foster some additional education somehow, or training somehow to help them get to that next pay level if that's the case? Offering them support in the classroom if they're needing some assistance, if they're going through a health issue, whatever that may look like. I think we need to offer that support to them. I think also making sure that if it's a student-teacher issue or a curriculum-teacher issue, that we're addressing what that particular need is whether it be at an administrative level or at a board level. Also, I think building morale in very simple ways, whether it be lunches, potlucks. I've seen some really fun ideas where people will do morning surveys and trivias and win little prizes. Sometimes they're, for lack of a better word, kind of like a booby prize where they're getting a fun pen or something. But I think boosting morale and keeping people enjoying their job is what is going to keep people in their job.
Thank you, candidate Martel. What can the school board do to attract and retain faculty and staff beyond sort of what we were already discussing?
I think the community involvement is a huge piece of this. Having ways to show that our community appreciates our teachers. Not only the administration, as I know they're doing some great things with brainstorming ways to show their appreciation, but having our community show their appreciation as well. Whether it's going around town and making a video of little clips of community members saying thank you to our teachers, or even us as parents, not just board members, but finding ways as parents to come up with creative ways for the kids to be involved and ways of saying thank you. I know back in the day, our parents gave us treats to give to our teachers and sat on their desk just as a way of saying thank you, and knowing what it was like having to have our kids home and teaching them. We understand what that entails every day, and multiplying that by several other students. So they do need a show of appreciation, not only by administration, but again, community and the children. And then also reevaluating where teachers' time is spent working smarter, not harder, I guess is something I like to say a lot. Finding ways to cut out some of the unnecessary things that they might be doing that doesn't really provide the students much for growth. Is it something logical? Is it something that they're going to use? Is something archaic? Do we need to take that out of their everyday? Just giving them those times to go through and evaluate what are we doing? Where can we take some of this extra out? I feel there's two key things we could do just off the top of my head.
Thank you, candidate Cody.
You don't have to repeat it. All of those are amazing. I feel like we've said so many things, and we all know that teachers are the backbones of our schools, and the school is the backbone of the community, and they need to feel valued. Just like everybody learns a different way, everybody feels valued a different way. So maybe asking the teachers, maybe that's part of their evaluation. so much of themselves and so much of their time. I hate to ask them for any more of their time. They're already overworked and underpaid. I love the idea of getting the kids involved. I think that kids need to understand how important these teachers are and how they spend more time with their teacher and more time in this building than they do with their parents a lot of the times. So we need to make sure that the experience that they're getting here is positive and vice versa.
And candidate Martin?
Okay, there have been many great things mentioned here. As the spouse of a teacher, I feel like I have some firsthand experience in what makes a teacher happy in their job. And I would say that feeling supported by administration and feeling supported by your school board and your community are very, very important. Probably the most important thing to keep someone in their position is to make sure that they're happy and they feel appreciated and they feel that they have the resources and tools that they need to do their job, to feel supported when there are struggles and to feel that they have avenues to combat challenges. But also, we face a unique challenge in our community as well, that we're very close to a number of school districts right across the river that often recruit even our educators and can offer better benefit packages and better pay. So we do need to make sure that our teachers are exceptionally happy here and that we are doing all that we can to make sure that they are compensated for their hard work and their dedication. We have excellent staff in our schools, and in order to retain them and keep them here, we need to be sure that we are providing them with the resources they need and compensating them well for the good work that they're doing.
Thank you. Okay, now I have the difficult job of, we're approaching 2 hours and I still have a lot of good questions. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna squeak in one and ask you to give a 1-minute response, so that we can grab a couple more things here. So this will go to candidate Martell, I believe, first. What responsibility, if any, do school board members have regarding advocacy for the district at the state level? What responsibilities, if any, do school board members have regarding advocacy for the district at the state level?
We have a responsibility to do what's right. And I feel like the advocacy piece is something I'm slightly familiar with, so actually going and doing advocacy would be something I would need to do a little more research on. But being part of that in my other job as a school district employee, we've been involved in working on the school meals as being part of the data, the going to school, just like desks and any of the other books that they use. So I'm involved in that currently at a state level in Wisconsin, but I feel strongly, when you have an issue that needs some oversight to be able to go and talk to your state representatives. I've sent several emails to many state representatives in Minnesota and Wisconsin about personal things that I feel strongly on. So I have no problem with the advocating for items in school too.
Okay, and candidate Cody, again, 1 minute. What responsibility, if any, do school board members have regarding advocacy for the district at the state level?
Yeah, well, it is their job. I am not well knowledged in the exact proceedings of that. I do look forward to learning it. I have been watching the board meetings and know that Eric Morgan, I do believe, was recently at a state level advocacy meeting. Yeah, I think that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Candidate Martin?
When we talked about what the role is of the school board member, we talked about being able to provide what we need to in the best interest of our students. And I think a lot of the resources that we get come from the state. So I think it goes hand in hand that as a board member, being an advocate
would be in leadership roles in the school districts.
Thank you. And candidate Miller?
You don't have to read it again. So, you know, as a school board member, we are also, you know, we have local regions, we have districts, and then we have state level. And typically, if there's an advocacy need that isn't already being addressed, that we don't already have a committee for, we would create a committee that would help, whether it be pulling in student and parent support. So we have some student and parent liaison support to help bring matters to our attention. Maybe there's administrators that need to assist us. And then the Minnesota School Board Association also offers pretty frequent meetings where we can get assistance from them as well on how to move forward with an advocacy. We also have a representative, like Darcy had mentioned, Eric is our current representative that does attend those meetings pretty regularly. But if there's an issue that isn't already being addressed and being advocated for or being educated on, that is something that we would create. And more than happy, advocacy is my passion. As a nurse, I'm also a case manager over in Wisconsin. Advocating for our disabled, frail elder, and mental health is my job for the last 12 plus years. So I have no shame and I'm not afraid.
Thank you. Okay, we are, for sake of time here, because we've hit the 2-hour time limit, we're going to move to our closing remarks. So you each have 1 minute to touch on anything that probably is in my list of questions here that you wanted to say, or to summarize something about why you would like to run for this position. So this question, or the opportunity to close remarks, goes first to candidate Cody.
I just want to thank everybody here. I want to thank all of you guys for running. I think no matter who gets elected, we're in good hands. The school is moving in a real positive direction. I think I would love the opportunity to be the bridge between the school district and the community. I want more open conversation forums. I want to hear from the community in more than just the 2-minute community input at the board meetings. I want to be out there and hearing from you and listening to you and being a speaker on your behalf, as well as all of the children in the district. So I appreciate your vote.
Thank you. Candidate Martin?
Well, I appreciate all of you for being here. Everyone who's either at home watching or in the audience, you're here because you care about what happens in our community. And like Darcy said, we've got a really great pool of candidates on the ballot for school board. So I hope that you feel open to ask any questions after we dismiss here. I would feel honored to represent our community on the school board and appreciate your vote.
Hi there, I'm Nikki Miller again. As you know, I'm a nurse. I had taken over Kent Summerfield's seat when he left for medical reasons. Those are big shoes to fill. I told him I hoped I could do him proud, and he said, I hope you can too. So as a nurse, as a medical professional, it was something that I really feel passionate about, especially during these times of just needing the help with bringing the reality that at the end of the day, we're all here for a common goal, and that's for our kids to have a safe place to learn and grow, and for our faculty to also have that safe place to provide that. So I'm hoping that I can continue being seated at the school board table because it's been a joy. Most people that come to a school board or want to join a board usually don't come because they want to, but I can tell you it's been very endearing. I'm always a student and I'm willing to keep learning, and I hope you'll continue to show up and tell us what you need to know. Tell us what we need to know, what we need to know, and what we need to do better, what we probably don't need to do. We need to hear it because we're here to help you
thank you again for being here. Worth it. Giving up 2 hours of your life is very, very important, and showing that you're involved in your community. We really appreciate that. And as they've all said, you have a tough job to do, because anybody you vote on this panel here is going to do well for this district. I do want to leave you with a quote that I really truly believe. Leave the world better than you found it. I try to do this every day, and I try to put this on my children too. So this is my part of leaving the world better than I found it. Thank you.
Thank you. And remember, there are other candidates that were unable to be here tonight. I regret that we can't share more information about them, but we want to express our appreciation for your willingness to be here, to answer these hard questions, and to just run for these positions and representing us in the community. So can we show our appreciation? I'll just remind you that the day to vote is November 8th, and you can get a sample ballot on that lovely website, www.state.min.us. Thank you all for coming down. Do you have any